When was the last time you had a great day, one of the days that you could classify as one of the best days of your life? A day that you would say things that you've been expecting for a while have really come full circle and produced fruit, and you're really excited to name it as one of your best days. Well, I had one of those days a few days ago. In fact, last Friday. And I would love to tell you about that day and hopefully encourage you to trust God to expect such days for yourself. Well, you see, for the last over a decade, since 2005, 2006, I have been working with a team of volunteers over the years serving orphans in Cameroon. I started the organization now called the Kenetacha Foundation, and by God's grace, we've served thousands of children in Cameroon. Well, the journey has not been easy, though it's been transformative for me and has produced a lot of blessings for the orphans that have benefited from our care. We started in 2005 when I started medical school in Texas. And I did something that might be considered stupid, in that when I was embarking on one of the toughest journeys of my life, which is 4 years of medical school, I started an orphan care organization weeks before doing it. I didn't know what I was doing, but God gave the grace. And I went through it, graduated on time, and as I went through it, I was studying medicine and advertising those children and showing pictures around and getting classmates to sign up to sponsor. We even were on the local news stations for a little while to try to drum up support. And
in some foreign countries, not everyone can afford going to school. One medical student at Texas A&M knows that firsthand.
That's right, but in between class and studying, he runs an organization to help others in his home country pay for school. News 3's Tony Harrison with his story.
Kenneth Acha is not your typical med student. Sure, he attends classes and studies with other students, but what sets him apart is what he does in his free time. When Acha isn't in school, you'll find him running a non-profit organization he founded to help less fortunate children in his native country, Cameroon, a group he once belonged to.
I lost my dad when I was 5 and dropped out of school twice. People helped me to go to school. So I was like them. I feel for them.
And God blessed that. And while it was challenging, while it caused me to be sometimes anxious and felt overwhelmed and had to go to the emergency room because of anxiety and panic, God blessed it. And by the time I was done with medical school in 2009, we were serving hundreds of children in Cameroon, and I was working and running the organization. I was creating the website. I was creating the flyers out of my one-bedroom apartment in Texas. Many children were going to school. They were getting all kinds of health care, surgeries, and they were getting treatments of preventing diseases, and they were going to school. But something I felt kept nagging, that something was lacking. The kind of success I was dreaming for these children, the kind of success that I thought that would happen, that would make sure that they would be very successful in the future, I was not seeing. I felt like I was working hard, I was sacrificing my life, but I was getting very minimal results in terms of future potential for these kids. We went through a transition after learning and seeing that having 85 children in an orphan care organization and planning to build another building to house more children wasn't a good idea, that the scientific data was showing that living children within families, strengthening weak families and putting them with other Christians to live was a better way. We switched from an orphan care model in Cameroon to a model where we created a foster care model, because it didn't exist in the community that we're serving then in Cameroon. So we created a Christian foster care system, and we're putting children in this program, in this families, and that was going well. Prior to this, we had raised 180,000 US dollars and built a big building to hold these children. That was before we sort of decided to switch the model and continue to use the building as a transition home and a place for conferences and stuff like that to strengthen the work. But again, I kept feeling that I wasn't seeing the kind of results that I wanted to see. Trust me, lots of things were happening. Surgeries, medical care, children were going to school every day, and things were happening. But I didn't feel like we were quite there. Well then, to make things worse, we had a war in Cameroon that has been going on for 4 or 5 years now. And we had to move from our region of the country to the central province, the capital city, and had to relocate there. We moved children and moved teams, and some team members couldn't move, and all kinds of changes. So throughout the years, there's been challenge after challenge after challenge. But again, the hand of God was always there. But again, I kept feeling that like something that I wasn't seeing the children succeeding in the ways that I wanted them to succeed. And recently in Cameroon, the GCE exams came out, and for the first time ever, I got news, and this news came through Matthias, one of our volunteers now, who is a member from our first batch of orphans that we sent from grade school all the way through high school, and he is pursuing ministry now. And he was checking the results of these national exams that are done in Cameroon that prepare people for high school and for university. And boy, our children performed so amazingly. We had 2 people with 10 papers, others with very great scores. Like a lot of the people who sat for the exams passed. To me, when I got this news, we have a WhatsApp group that all the volunteers that are serving the organization in Cameroon are in there, not those in the US. We have a few volunteers in the US that are not in there. And my wife and I and the volunteers in Cameroon, we have this WhatsApp group. We communicate weekly, pretty much, sometimes every day to sort of keep things going. And in that group, there is Pastor Kai, who is one of our foster families. He's living with 2 of our children. He's an amazing guy. He loves the Lord and is serving God, and is one of our board members on the Cameroon side of things. And he's in that group. We have Divine Gay, who's a volunteer accountant for Cameroon, a fantastic man of God. And we have Matthias, who's also one of our former orphans, who's now an independent minister and is doing his work. Bernadette is in there. She's a young woman who was caring for children in Cameroon, in Yaoundé, with us until recently, when the last batch of children moved into foster homes and extended families. And who am I missing? And we also have Divine Makeji, who has also been working for years and is caring for orphans with us as a volunteer now in Cameroon. So we had these people in the group. I think I've not left anybody out. We had these people in the group, and when Matthias reported these results, and I asked him, because he's been around from the beginning, I asked him just to confirm, because I knew what was going on. I knew that we'd never seen that kind of just amazing success among the children. I asked him, hey, have we ever had this before? Have we had kids succeed so well in school and in all kinds of levels, just pass these national exams like this? He said no. And it's never happened. It's something I wanted to see happen, because in Cameroon, if children don't perform on these kinds of national exams to be able to continue into better high schools or have a chance of going to the university, then they're limited in a lot of ways, and the investment that we've invested in them from when they were young, some when they were 2, 3, 5, and all the sweat will not amount to very much in terms of their success, because if you don't get into high school and get a high school education, or if you're fortunate get into a university and get trained or something like that, it really limits your ability to be successful when you already do not have any family members that can support you because you're an orphan. So this was fantastic news for us, and something that really was more fantastic to me even than the results. Hey, but the results were amazing. They made my day one of the best days ever, okay? But what was even more fantastic was the amount of joy that I saw from everybody, the volunteers that were in that group. Everybody was excited. It reminded me of heaven. It gave me a glimpse of heaven. If you remember in the book of Hebrews, there is this idea of a great cloud of witnesses that is cheering believers on. The idea is that with God, we are one huge family. Those that have gone before us, and in heaven, Jesus is cheering for us. He is praying and interceding for us. When one person is saved, God throws a party in heaven. There's a lot of rejoicing. I could see us. Many of these kids I've never met. My wife has never met. Many of these kids, the volunteers are helping just because they want to do the work of God. But we were all rejoicing over their success, over their potential for the future. That really just touched me, and it made my day. It made Friday, a couple of days ago, one of the best days of my life. And for you, I know I'm not just telling you this story so that you can be happy for me, which would be a good thing. Of course, we should be happy for each other. But one of the most important aspects of our Christian faith that the Lord Jesus, our God, demonstrated for us was this idea of living our lives on behalf of the less fortunate. Jesus modeled that. He said he came as a servant to serve, not to be served. Jesus, who in his very nature, God, did not count it worthy to sit in his glory, but took on the form of a human being and came to die to open the way for us to be reconciled to God, so that we can inherit what is his. We can inherit his glory, his inheritance. We can be children of God. We see in the scriptures, in the book of James 1:27, James tells us pure and undefiled religion is this: to visit the orphan and the widow, and to keep oneself pure and undefiled. There is this idea in the scriptures that runs throughout the scriptures. There's a thread of love that runs throughout the scriptures that says the kind of person, now we don't get saved by doing good works, but the kind of faith that saves is the kind of faith that would lay our lives down for our brothers, that would imitate Jesus, like John talks about in 1 John 3:16, that will imitate our brothers and lay down our lives to serve them. So my encouragement to you, and you already know this, but the scriptures teach us to remind one another, to spur one another up, to encourage one another towards good works, is that as you are busy and you likely have personal issues, personal difficulties. If you're married and have children, you have things to do with children. I want to encourage you to continue to find ways to be able to sacrifice yourself on behalf of others, especially the voiceless, the orphan, the widow, the fatherless. And if you want to participate in what we're doing, we're sending children to school now in Cameroon in this September. We're going to be buying books and paying school fees and uniforms, and we want to be able to provide them a great education and great mentoring and help open doors for them to be able to not only know Jesus, but to be able to succeed and be able to fulfill their potential. This takes a little bit of sacrificing of ourselves. We've been doing it since 2005, and it has been the most transformative thing that I could ever do. I think it will be the same for you. So if you want to join a group of people that are doing this, you can do that. But there are many opportunities. You can do that through your local church. You can do that in your neighborhood. But again, if you want to partner with us, that would help a lot. And I pray that God would really guide you as a believer, as a chosen one, as an elect of the Most High God, to continue in whatever way God calls you to be able to prioritize this love for one another. Well, that's it. That's why I have been having one of the best times of my life. That's why Friday, a couple of days ago, was one of the best days of my life. I'd like you to share this video and to leave a comment below. And if you have any questions about the work we do, or want mentorship or advice in anything that has to do with medicine or spiritual formation or Christian walk, please leave a comment below, and we're here to pray for you and to help you. Until next time, God bless, and we'll see you in another video.